In a forgotten time, a man lived like no other. This is Enoch, the man who walked with God, shrouded in mystery and devotion. In forgotten ages, there lived a man marked by faith and devotion. Enoch, the one who walked with God, followed a path that few dared to tread. His life, shrouded in mystery and spirituality, was a testament to a deep bond with the divine. In a world full of shadows, he was light, a beacon of hope and mystery, until the day when, without a trace, he disappeared, lifted up to a destiny beyond what we know. Imagine Enoch resting peacefully when two angelic beings of incredible appearance appear at his side. They were not ordinary figures. Their faces shone like the sun, and their voices sounded like the very essence of peace. The scene seems almost mythical, but it is the opening to a profound contact with the divine. These angels brought with them a special mission, one that would transcend the limits of earth. As they took him to the heavenly realm, they opened doors to mysteries that no other mortal had ever unraveled. Enoch, with a mixture of awe and reverence, embarked on a journey that few would dare to dream. As Enoch crosses the veil between the physical and celestial worlds, time and space seem to dissolve. The vision of the constellations, thrones, and myriads of divine beings, all this unfolds before his eyes. It's a moment when he understands that reality goes far beyond what our senses can capture. Imagine being taken to a cosmic school where each star reveals a secret about human and divine nature. For Enoch, this wasn't just an experience, it was a calling. Anyone who has deeply pondered life knows how rare it is to experience something like this, as if the universe itself were confiding its secrets to him. The presence of these angels and what they represent isn't something distant from us. Think of how much we can discover when we open ourselves to the unexplored, to the unknown. Today, what we call an insight might be a modern version of a divine touch, where a person seems to be guided to new perceptions. Enoch shows us that it is possible to break through barriers and connect to something greater, whether through deep meditation, a moment of contemplation, or even observing the stars on a clear night. Who knows what you might discover if you allowed this expansion? In a time when celestial beings of immense power and knowledge look upon Earth with a desire they shouldn't harbor, these angels, led by Semjaza, abandoned their high positions and descended to our world, fascinated by human beauty and nature. In an act of rebellion, perhaps driven by curiosity or the desire to experience earthly life, they broke the barrier that should exist between the divine and human. The result? A forbidden union that brought unimaginable consequences. Think of it as if great scientists were sharing their most advanced knowledge without considering the consequences for those unprepared to handle it. Semjaza's decision and that of his companions came at a tremendous cost. By uniting with human women, these angels gave rise to beings that transcend any conventional description. Giants, beings of superhuman proportions and abilities. They weren't just physically superior. They carried with them a complexity and ferocity that would profoundly disturb the natural balance. Like a dormant volcano suddenly awakening, this new generation of giants began to demand more than Earth could offer, causing disasters and destroying whatever they encountered. They became a shadow over what was once a fertile and peaceful Earth. This rebellion of the angels is, in many ways, a warning about the limits of power and desire. It's like when someone enters a territory where they shouldn't be, and even with good intentions, ends up triggering something irreversible. Curiosity is a powerful trait, but without respect for boundaries, it can lead down a dangerous path. Today, with all our access to technology and knowledge, how many times do we cross lines without considering the impact? What we learn from these beings is that power, without respect and wisdom, can turn beauty into chaos. Upon settling on Earth, these fallen angels brought with them knowledge that was entirely new and inaccessible to humanity. Imagine the impact of such deep secrets suddenly being revealed. Arcane arts, sorcery, the power to manipulate elements, and even the art of forging weapons. Each skill shared was a piece of the celestial puzzle, which in the wrong hands could turn into a dangerous game of power. These teachings were received with curiosity and enthusiasm, but as with any powerful discovery, their use soon became a source of corruption and discord. It was like handing fire to someone unaware of its capacity to burn. Gradually, these teachings began to shape a new face of humanity, where the pursuit of power and control grew stronger. humans, now equipped with an arsenal of forbidden knowledge, began to use it to dominate each other, fabricate weapons, and alter the natural course of life. Society began to divide between those who possessed the knowledge and used it for personal gain, and those who suffered under the oppression of this power. This knowledge, diverted from heaven, generated growing inequality and fear, much like we see today when technology or knowledge is used for manipulation, ignoring the basic principles of respect and harmony. But is the problem in the knowledge itself? Perhaps the real danger lies in the lack of balance and wisdom to handle what was taught. For us, this story serves as a lesson. Knowledge, as fascinating as it may be, must be accompanied by responsibility and ethics. In our lives, whether we're learning something new or using advanced technologies, the question remains, are we using this power to create a better world, or are we becoming slaves to a power we don't fully understand? This learning could be the key to preventing chaos from taking hold. Over time, the presence of giants on Earth became unsustainable. These beings, the result of the forbidden union between angels and humans, possessed an insatiable hunger that went far beyond what the planet could bear. They consumed resources voraciously, depleting everything around them without regard for the consequences. Imagine if every tree, every river, every piece of food were devoured at an alarming rate. It was like a fire leaving nothing in its path, devastating fertile lands and pushing humanity into extreme scarcity. It was nature crying out for balance. This lack of control affected not only nature but also humans, who quickly became targets for the giants. When natural resources were no longer sufficient, they turned against people, imposing a true tyranny. Thus, a shadow of destruction spread, and fear became part of the daily life of those who once lived peacefully on Earth. It is almost a warning of what can happen when power or a force escapes control and devastates everything it encounters. A vivid example of the consequences of disrespecting natural limits. Today, we still see echoes of this situation on different scales. The reckless exploitation of resources, the lack of care for the environment, and the pursuit of power at any cost. If we look closely, we'll see that the lesson of the giants is more relevant than ever. It's up to us to reflect on what we are leaving behind and how our actions today impact tomorrow. Nature, just as in those times, always finds a way to react when disrespected, and it's up to each of us to prevent this from turning into an endless cycle of destruction and rebuilding. Amid the chaos spreading on Earth, the archangels Michael, Gabriel, Raphael, and Uriel, observing the scene of degradation, could no longer remain silent. With deep sorrow, these pure beings, committed to divine order, saw creation being corrupted by the actions of fallen angels and the destructive deeds of the giants. It was as if they were watching the decline of a great masterpiece, something born to be beautiful and harmonious, but now on the path to ruin. With heavy hearts, they gathered to petition the Most High to intervene, to restore the balance and justice that once reigned over the earth. As they approached the divine throne, each archangel expressed the plea of innocent souls and creatures suffering under the weight of injustice. They did not ask for revenge, but for the restoration of peace and harmony, something only supreme power could grant. It's like seeing a situation of extreme injustice and feeling the need to intercede, to do something to correct what's wrong. These archangels then presented before God the suffering of earth, pleading not for themselves but for every life impacted by the rebellion of those who transgress divine laws. The plea of the archangels is a powerful reminder that even in the face of what seems uncontrollable, there is still room for intercession and hope. In daily life, we also face situations where we must turn to a higher power to seek justice. It's that moment when, instead of reacting impulsively, we seek a solution that comes from a place of wisdom and compassion. Just as Michael, Gabriel, Raphael, and Uriel did, when appealing to the Creator, we can learn that true power doesn't lie in imposing, but in asking for good to prevail. With the archangel's plea before him, God decides that it's time to intervene. Observing the profound corruption spreading, he decrees a drastic measure to restore the purity of creation, a great flood. This judgment, however, would not be a meaningless destruction, but an opportunity for renewal. God instructs Noah, a just and God-fearing man, to prepare for what is to come, guiding him to build an ark that would shelter those chosen to restart life on earth. It's an act of severe discipline, but with a glimmer of hope. a last chance to redeem the future. For Noah, the mission to build the ark was a true test of faith and perseverance. Imagine the challenge of constructing such a grand structure at a time without the technologies we have today, and under the critical gaze of a society that didn't understand or accept its purpose. Noah needed courage to follow divine instructions, even when everything around him seemed to conspire against him. It's a reminder that often, being faithful to what we believe requires resilience, especially when we face doubts and disbelief from those who don't share the same vision. This flood isn't just a story of destruction, but also a symbol of transformation and cleansing. Just as Noah had to trust in God's instructions, we too may face the need to make a cleansing in our lives, whether in our relationships, habits, or paths we follow. The story of the flood invites us to reflect on what we are willing to leave behind in pursuit of genuine renewal. Noah is the living example that, even in the midst of the storm, there is always a promise of a new beginning for those who trust in a greater purpose. With the flood and planned renewal, God turns his attention to the fallen angels who brought so much disorder to the world. For these beings, there is no place for forgiveness, but rather eternal punishment. Azazel, one of the main figures responsible for humanity's corruption, is confined to the depths of darkness, where he will find neither relief nor redemption. Semjaza, who led the rebellion, and his followers, face an equally grim fate, being imprisoned forever. It's a lesson that even the most powerful beings can be reduced to nothing when they stray from their original purpose. This punishment reflects the cost of betrayal against the very essence of good. Alongside the fallen angels, the giants, offspring of these forbidden unions, receive their own punishment. Their spirits, cursed and devoid of peace, begin to roam the earth as malevolent entities, haunting the living and causing torment. They became symbols of the consequences of actions that violate natural and spiritual laws, existing as shadows of a past that can never be restored. It's like an indelible mark that remains to remind us of what happens when power is wielded without responsibility and awareness. To this day, stories of haunting spirits resonate as echoes of these ancient curses. This punishment serves as a strong warning to humanity, showing that acts of deviation, abuse of power, or disregard for divine laws carry an immeasurable weight. The message is clear. The forces of the universe, in one way or another, seek to restore balance. In today's life, we can see this principle when something that seems unjust or wrong finally faces consequences. It's a reminder that, although evil may thrive for a while, order and justice ultimately prevail, restoring the harmony that was disturbed. After the judgment and purification brought by the flood, a new hope arises for humanity. God, in his infinite compassion, promises the survivors a future of peace and abundance. The earth, now renewed, is destined to be a place where the righteous can flourish, free from the evils and shadows of the past. This new world would be filled with blessings, with nature once again generous and the environment harmonious. A true rebirth. It's like a field devastated, which after a period of rest, revives even more fertile, ready to welcome those who know how to value it. This promise is a powerful reminder that even after the greatest challenges, life always offers the possibility of a new beginning. God establishes a covenant of hope with humanity, showing that he is not only a judge, but also a guardian of well-being and growth. For those who survived, the mission was clear: to live in harmony with the values once forgotten, and to usher in an era where justice and goodness could expand. It's an invitation for all to cultivate their own inner lands, planting the seeds of what truly matters. This commitment to renewal leads us to reflect on our own capacity for new beginnings. We all face personal storms, moments of downfall or crisis, but it's always possible to find a way back to harmony. Just as God gave humanity a second chance, we too can choose a new path, building, little by little, an environment where peace and balance can flourish. It's as if each of us has the task of being the guardian of our own promised land, ensuring that what we plant today turns into a legacy for the future. Following this new beginning, God appoints a Son of Man, a being anointed with the mission of restoring and protecting the balance on earth. This chosen one is more than an ordinary leader. He is a figure of justice and compassion, someone who deeply understands humanity's pains and hopes. with the responsibility to confront oppressive rulers and guide people toward a path of righteousness. He represents God's commitment to justice. In a world where corruption and unchecked power still claim victims, the emergence of a leader committed to good is like a light amidst darkness. The chosen one doesn't come merely to punish, but to offer direction, a guide for all those seeking to live in peace and harmony. He embodies the hope of a future where divine laws will be respected and where society can thrive without the shadow of injustice. It's like having a wise mentor who, beyond correcting our mistakes, teaches us to follow the right path, even when it is most challenging. This Son of Man is a symbol of humanity's capacity for renewal and the divine commitment to order and love. This inspiring figure leads us to reflect on the leaders and influences in our own lives. Who are those who guide us, who show us the value of justice and kindness? Just as the chosen one was designated to guide humanity in dark times, each of us can also strive to be a positive influence, whether in our personal circle or society as a whole. It's a reminder that true leadership is not just about power, but about the sincere desire to do good, to be an example that inspires others to also follow the path of righteousness. As he is lifted to the heavens, Enoch encounters celestial mysteries that challenge human comprehension. Before his eyes, the workings of divine orders unfold in perfect harmony, where each being, each light, each breath has a role in the Creator's grand plan. He observes the complexity of spiritual laws that govern the universe, revelations that go beyond the limits of common understanding. It's like seeing the inner mechanisms of a masterpiece, each detail, each movement synchronized to maintain the balance between good and evil, justice and mercy. Enoch doesn't just witness, he understands there is a higher order that governs everything. As he advances, Enoch is guided to the realms of the dead, where he sees the fate reserved for those who chose the path of corruption and evil. This encounter with the realities of the afterlife reveals that, although divine justice may be delayed, it never fails. Every act committed in life finds a response in eternity, whether as a reward or as correction. Enoch witnesses the judgment awaiting the wicked, and this vision is both a warning and a promise that the universe has its own mechanisms for balance. It's a reminder that everything we do reverberates beyond our existence. These celestial mysteries bring to the surface a question about our own journey on earth. What are we cultivating that will leave a mark on time? Enoch's vision invites us to reflect on the impact of our choices and the way we conduct our lives. Just as he saw the secrets that govern the universe, we too are called to understand that life is a cycle of actions and consequences. Every thought, every act carries weight, and like an echo, it will return to us. So, are we truly ready for this vision of eternity and responsibility? Imagine a universe where each choice carries eternal weight, where every act resounds like an echo beyond time and space. Enoch, on his celestial journey, didn't just witness this reality, he lived an experience that changed the course of humanity. This is not just an ancient story, it is an invitation to reflect on the impact our decisions have, not only for us but for everything around us. Enoch shows us that knowledge and power, when misused, can cause ruin but also carry the possibility of redemption and a new beginning. What if I told you that the same kind of choice lies in our hands today? It may sound strange, but Enoch's world, with its lessons on leadership, justice, and renewal, echoes truths that are more current than we could ever imagine. While chaos and injustice still permeate our daily lives, the story of this visionary reveals that true change begins within each of us. But are we ready to face this responsibility? Follow along with me on this journey and discover how Enoch's lessons can transform the way you see your own life and the world around you. After diving into this journey with Enoch, the question remains, how can you apply these teachings to your own life? Have you noticed how decisions and actions carry more weight than we imagine? Whether in the pursuit of justice, building something lasting, or respecting the boundaries that maintain harmony, every detail matters. Enoch shows us that we each have a role, a responsibility that, if well handled, can bring about true renewal. The question is, are you ready to take on this journey? How can you be the guardian of your choices and influences? What areas in your life need a fresh start, a cleansing? Share your thoughts. Tell us how this story has impacted you. And of course, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications to keep learning about topics that bring clarity, knowledge, and transformation to our everyday lives.